It's time to rewrite this story from scratch. My name is Vincent, and for as long as I can remember, I have believed that love is based entirely on trust. Without this essential element, love is nothing more than a complicated game. My own story was a vivid example of this cruel truth. I was engaged to a girl named Casey, with whom I had been together for about 5 years. We put so much blood, sweat, tears, time, effort, love, etc. into that relationship, but it all came crashing down when I found out she was still seeing another guy. At that moment, my world fell apart, and that terrible night changed my life forever. Over the next hour, I'm going to tell you how it all happened. I first met Casey at a housewarming party thrown by a mutual friend. To our surprise, what started out as small talk turned into a discussion that lasted for hours. After that, we were in constant contact. At first, our meetings were informal, coffee and lunch when our schedules allowed. Over time, our affection for each other grew. These casual encounters soon turned into dinners, weekends, and late nights, and before long, we were an official couple. Our relationship developed at a realistic pace. We didn't rush into bed, but we didn't stay friends either. Together, over the course of more than 3 years, we created work that really felt meaningful. By the second year of our relationship, it became normal for Casey to spend most of her weekends with me, usually from Friday evening to Sunday evening. This arrangement felt natural, and I couldn't have been happier. She never moved in with me permanently, but we were both happy with the arrangement. My apartment offered us both a comfortable place to deepen our relationship, and we had no pressing reasons to rush into living together. Casey lived in a smaller apartment, and although I sometimes stayed over, I never considered it possible to live there permanently. One thing I appreciated about Casey, and which I believed was evidence of her professorial spirit, was her honesty. From the beginning of our relationship, she was very open with me about her past, her other relationships, her mistakes, the experiences she had had, and even her conflicts with her family. Perhaps the most refreshing thing about her candor was her openness when she talked about her childhood friend, whom she called her brother, emphasizing that there had never been a sexual relationship between them. I wasn't concerned about that. I trusted her completely, because she had given me no reason to doubt her honesty from the very beginning. When someone is that open, you want to take them at their word. Somehow, we fell in love, and she agreed to marry me. We started planning the perfect wedding, the honeymoon, the guest list, and the house where we wanted to start our life together. I was completely invested emotionally and financially. I really put everything into it, saving and creating a life to give her what I believed she deserved. It was an exciting time, and I truly felt that we were on the same wavelength. Soon, I discovered that appearances, even the most convincing ones, don't always tell the whole truth. One Friday evening, Casey came over as usual with her bag for the weekend. I was very happy that she had come. Over dinner, she casually mentioned that she needed to go back to her parents' house the next day to deal with some family issues. I smiled, knowing how right she was. I valued and respected her boundaries and had no desire to pry into her personal life. She had never given me any reason to distrust her. After dinner, as usual, we settled down on the couch to watch a movie we had been looking forward to all week. I noticed that her head slowly fell onto my shoulder as she fell asleep, which always happened when she was tired. I let her sleep, hugging this little creature who had captured our hearts, so I could finish watching the movie and go home. In contrast to the film's brilliant opening, her phone must have rung many times. This is hinted at throughout the film, as her phone was constantly glowing, albeit more subtly. At first, I dismissed it as notifications from our various group chats. When the film ended and the credits began, I leaned over to her, intending to gently wake her up so we could go to bed together. Crane, and as soon as I touched her shoulder, my gaze was drawn to her phone. Out of pure instinct, I grabbed it. The first thing that caught my eye on the lock screen was the opposite. The draft messages contained words that a brother or sister would never use. Since we had shared our passwords as a sign of trust from the beginning of our relationship, I unlocked her phone without hesitation. What I saw next is difficult to put into words. The messages from her supposed childhood friend weren't just harmless chatting. They were sexual conversations full of emojis, inside jokes, and most alarmingly, directions. In one of the messages, he wrote, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow," to which she replied with a heart emoji. As you can imagine, I was shocked when I saw her next tweet. "I'll be at my parents' house. That's all we need and we're ready." This message was sent just a few hours earlier, probably while we were having dinner together. I didn't want to wake her up and argue, especially at that moment. Instead, I found myself in this beautiful moment, holding her hand and just looking at her as she slept peacefully, while questions raced through my mind and my body felt drained of energy. I asked myself all kinds of questions, but one question tormented me the most. Was I not enough for her? Why would she betray me like that, secretly leaving for the weekend with another man? In that silence, I found my wife, the woman I hoped she was, at once lost and grounded by the truth of her illness, fighting with the hope that maybe things weren't as bad as I thought. The next morning, as she talked to me sitting next to me in bed, the world seemed back on its axis. She kissed me gently on the cheek and then went back to her stretching and morning rituals. While she brushed her teeth, she filled every room in the apartment, packing her new backpack with things from the bag she had slept in, and a few additions from the arsenal I had recently accumulated. During all these cheerful preparations, she repeatedly said how much she would miss me, how short the weekend had been, and how next time she would leave work early so we could spend more time together. I listened to her attentively, but responded very sparingly. It seemed to me that she was reading from a sheet of paper, like those who, before meeting someone, promise their colleagues what they will say to appear convincing. So I decided not to say anything to see how long she would continue her game. After a while, she stopped and then looked at me intently, as if noticing a change in my expression. Turning her head, she asked, "Are you okay?" I shrugged and gave my standard answer when I wanted to end a conversation. "Nothing." "My mom doesn't know anything about this," she said, laughing innocently at first, not realizing the seriousness of the situation. "Oh," she said with feigned surprise. "Are you tired of me already?" Loosening her grip on my arm, she nudged me with her forearm, trying to lighten the tension in the room. I tried my best not to grimace, but despite her smile and laughter, and despite the fact that I hadn't ruined her day after all, at the moment when she was zipping up her backpack, I felt with agonizing clarity how heavy silence could weigh on the chest. Throwing her bag over her shoulder, she walked through the basement door, and I followed her, as I usually did in the mornings. I opened the door for her, and she usually looked back and winked at me, smiled, or even kissed me before leaving. It had always been a normal ritual. This time, when she opened the door to leave, I held back and didn't say goodbye. Instead, like a real man, I just looked her straight in the eye and said, "Have a good date." The result, I saw her face change instantly. It was as if her expression was searching for the right emotion to match the moment. Wait, not so fast. What do you mean?" she stammered, her voice weak with disbelief and trembling with emotion. But I didn't give her a chance to explain. Raising my hand in front of her, gently but firmly enough for her to understand that she should stop what she was doing, I replied, "Don't do that. Today, with issues such as climate change, air quality, health inequalities, and economic consequences on the agenda, the stakes are higher." Then I closed the door behind me. The silence that followed was short-lived. Fortunately, almost immediately I heard her desperate knocking. Loud bangs, full of urgency and need, as if those 60 seconds had turned everything upside down and she needed to get it all back. Soon the knocking turned to sobbing, her voice trembling as she begged me through the door to just listen to her. My phone rang, notifications coming in so fast I couldn't register them. I didn't even need to look to know it was her, but I peeked through the crack between the wide doors anyway. The full message was longer than the subsequent messages that filled my inbox. "Dear Mister, please just open the door. That's why I'm asking you. It wasn't a sign of anything. I'm not coming over anymore. I'll cut your favorite punching bag to pieces. Stop pretending to be brave. Just open the door." I sat at my computer, my heart frozen, my emotions frozen. Her insistence that it really didn't mean anything, although that was true in the sense that it was exactly what she meant, was completely out of place in light of the literal approach with which the administration of the world's only superpower conducts itself. If it really didn't matter, why did she feel the need to lie? Why did she decide to hide behind the mask of family obligations? I was left alone with the painful conclusion that our entire relationship had been built on lies. Did she love me as much as I loved her? Or was I just a companion until she figured out her feelings for another guy? I didn't want to let anyone in, I hesitated to open the door, and I didn't want to talk to whoever was standing behind it. Hours passed, and she still wouldn't give up. Finally, after thousands of knocks on the door and the last Facebook messages, she finally left. That was far from the end. Weeks passed, but Casey didn't give up. The more extreme her situation became, the stronger her need to communicate became, and she used every means possible to get through all the filters we had set up. Every morning, I woke up to a stream of rhetorical messages on my phone, and her growing persistence was evident. The messages weren't literary or complex. They were emotional and direct. "I can't wait to talk to you. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. This is why it happened." Mostly, they were just, "I love you." In a final heartfelt plea late at night, she wrote, "I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'll keep asking until you stop me." I admit that I didn't block her. To be honest, most of the time, I didn't even open the emails. I would open my phone just enough to see the preview on the lock screen, then put it down again. The temptation to contact her was always there. Every time I thought about it, I remembered what she had decided to do. Then, one weekend evening, I heard a knock on the door. At first, I just stayed on the couch, hoping she would go away. She was persistent, so she knocked a second time, more decisively this time. The same headphones helped me recognize her voice when she shouted, "Vincent, come here! I'm not going to discuss the crimes of creative people. I don't want you to do anything special. I just want to get it off my chest, let off some steam, or just talk." Against my better judgment, I decided not to engage in conversation, remaining silent in the hope that at some point she would become disappointed and leave. She stood on the busy street for over 15 minutes. As she begged him not to die, I heard her voice tremble and break as she reportedly said, "You were right. I really messed up. But please, at least let the artist explain." Finally, I opened the door, welcoming and encouraging her to speak. She explained to me that she was emotionally distraught, that it wasn't love, and that she missed that period of her life without being able to truly deal with it. She confessed that she had been unfaithful to me, believing that I would never find out, and that this gave her the confidence to cheat on me. She claimed that it was not serious and had no consequences. The very necessity of lying to make it possible spoke otherwise. I just let her talk, giving her the opportunity to share everything she wanted to. When she had gathered all the comforting words and advice she could find, and her eyes searched mine for even the slightest sign of approval, I finally asked her the question that mattered most to me. "Would you have told me?" She froze, her jaw dropped, and then she snapped it shut. She looked down at the floor, her chin trembling, and said nothing. In that rare moment of calm, I understood the reality better than anything she had just told me. If I hadn't suspected her phone, if I hadn't uncovered her lie, she would have gone on her trip that weekend, smiled at me when she returned, and continued planning our wedding, and nothing would have happened. When I walked away, she looked up, her eyes shining with expectation, perhaps even begging for mercy. I just couldn't do it. So I said very firmly, "Then this engagement was based on a lie, and I'm not going to build a marriage on that." She was just trying to prove her point, and I don't blame her for rejecting me. I raised my hand to speak again, and keeping my cool and not making the first move, I said that I had calmed down. She simply replied very politely, "Please don't contact me anymore. Whatever you do, don't come here. The worst thing you can do is show up again. Like I said, let this be the last time." As soon as I finished, I went back inside and locked the door. She just stood there for a moment, tears in her eyes from the hurt, before turning and walking away. To love and be trustworthy, I believed that many people think love is based on trust. Never, I would have told you, did I expect to find myself in a situation that would make me question everything. When I found out what Casey had done behind my back, it didn't just destroy my trust, I felt like my love had been shattered into a million pieces. It's strange how you can be so sure of someone, make plans, invest time, energy, and your heart, and then in an instant lose it all when you least expect it. It's the most painful thing. The lie wasn't just a mistake. It opened my eyes to how easy it was for her to hide the things that really mattered, and it made me wonder how many more lies there were in our so-called honest communication. For me, the idea that betrayal simply burns trust to the ground is a fantasy. You burn everything you believed in. Even today, when I look back on those times and wonder if they really existed, I don't believe it. I'm not claiming to have all the answers or to have completely processed this experience. That's not true. I'm not prone to criticism, but I do understand at least one key principle. I deserve the truth.